All right, I've been wanting to do this video for a little while. I had to reshoot this because I took a little long on this than I wanted to, and so I'm gonna try to shorten this up a bit. So the Evocati build is out, and the notes on it are live in Spectrum. So if you want to take a look for that, you can take a look and search for these terms, or kind of use this forum posting 190048 is the thread that they have for it. So very quickly, it looks like it's LTP data is enabled, which means that the long-term persistent items is enabled. So your ships should retain, at least for the avocado build. I'm assuming they'll do the same thing for the regular build, but we'll have to wait and see when those patch notes drop for the actual, or at least the planning. They'll should give us maybe Inside Citizen or something like that. Should be able to give us some insight into 324 getting ready to drop when they're ready to drop it, and what kind of persistence we should expect out of it. The starting UAC, try not to pay too much attention to this. This is really for test builds. They give you 15 million. They don't really give you that for the regular builds. The regular builds usually give you 20. I think it's 20,000. The main things I want to focus on is personal instance hangars, the freight elevators, and the storage access. This trolleys is interesting, and the hangars decorations are both cool, but they're not, I think, the main focus of why I'm discussing the planets. When I think it's the more meaningful choices go around. It's unfortunate to see these things that are not ready for testing, the cargo hauling missions and the cargo commodity rebalancing. And then there's a blockade runner event. I have torn feelings on the events these days because they do seem to add quite a bit of stress to the servers. So as much as they are fun, they also seem to be a fairly big stressors for the servers. So they can kind of be a mixed bag. Cargo hauling missions, though, it's unfortunate to not see these in play yet because A, I want to try them out, and B, I still think cargo hauling is a little too negatively affecting salvaging, especially for like from the RNC perspective. So again, they don't allow the selling of quantanium for I think it's quantanium, the mineral. As far as when you do mining, you can't purchase the highest mining components for cargo hauling. You can only mine them up, and I think that should be the same thing for RMC. Maybe construction material, maybe you sell that because it's just construction material and it's been nerfed to the ground. But I really think mining and salvaging, you shouldn't really be able to buy too many of those. At least the really expensive ores, or in this case of the mining and salvaging, the really expensive salvaging components or salvaging items, pieces, materials. Anyways, I'll get on my high horse there. I do want to cover really quick. There is a bug fix for our for salvaging, and so that is here. Oops, stop it. So they changed or they fixed the issue where you were allowed to double scrape a hole. So what was happening is a ship, you would scrape it down and then you could frack it. Then you'd be able to re-scrape it a second time. So it looks like they fixed that. So it's much like the original. You can only scrape the ship, frack it, and gather up the construction materials instead. Currently, people can scrape the ship, frack it, and then re-scrape it a second time. Now I've got people that have put notes in my comments that say, hey, after you frack it, it seems like those items could despawn within a certain time. So you have a very limited time how quickly you can frack it the second time. Anyways, or rescrape it. Now, looking at the actual changes here, so this is the biggest change, the personal and instance hangars. So whenever you choose a home planet now, that's where you're going to have your main hangar. Now, they're going to have hangars at other locations. So I'm still trying to decide how meaningful this will be. So, but your biggest hangar and the one that'll persist the most is going to be at your main station. So if you wanted to start gathering RMC and putting it into your hangar to store it away for a price change, or obviously the commodity changes aren't here yet, but that's the kind of things that should become important at a later date when commodity prices, and that's some of those commodity rebalancing, cargo commodity rebalancing may become more important. So once they stop selling RMC, you may find that, hey, right now a lot of people are selling RMC. You may want to hold that and sell a bunch of RMC of cargo boxes to the TDD when it's come up in price because there's a demand that's needed that needs to be filled. So looking forward to that when that comes out. Let's see. Yeah, so I just wanted to note there. So players can find. So the next part is freight elevators. So freight elevators we're going to use in order to interact with selling our content. So instead of just having you can pay for this magical service to allow it to be removed from your ship and sold at the TDD and whatnot. But largely, you're going to want to unload the RMC and construction material or whatever it is that you're trying to trade. You're going to want to unload that yourself to save you money because you're going to have to pay for a service now to have it unload automatically for you, and there'll be a timing associated with that as well. It's probably quicker than doing it yourself, so the timing component's probably not that big a deal. It could be. We'll have to wait and see in the testing. But players can still find freight and personal staging hangars at outposts and scrapyards, so it's not like it will be impossible. But I honestly think the safest and probably most secure, at least this is what I'm expecting, will be in your personal hangar. So that's why I'm making this video, because I think it'll be more meaningful than just saying, "Hey, um, I'm not. I mean, we'll have to test it, right? But I would expect to see more crashes, more errors, and more problems with rented or like temporary hangars that you're going to get than those that are proposed as far as your actual instance hanger. So if we're truly getting our own instance hanger and it's kind of like somehow a subsection of like our own kind of server or something, I don't know how they plan on doing this, but if you get your own instance, that seems like it would be much more stable than having to rely upon an instance that's a rental instance, if you will. Um, Also, they have not ruled out the fact that people can come in and still mess with your hanger. So, I mean, as the way it currently is, the longer you're in your hanger, the more chance you have of someone messing with you. And so, we're looking at having a long time hanger. So, obviously, it's meant to be only players that are in your group and stuff. But I don't know how squirrely this is all going to be. And so, I still find this whole choosing a planet is going to be a more meaningful choice than it has been previously, and I'm going to die on that hill. It may not be, but I might die on the hill for no reason at all. So, anyways, you'll have these freight elevator kiosks, and they'll be used to load items and deal with the freight that you have. Again, you'll have access to these in other locations as well, but it's just something to kind of to note that when you're doing the commodity kiosk stuff and choosing the different sizes and doing the different commodity change trades. Now, in this case, a lot of the different size containers and stuff like that would be more relevant to regular commodities you'll be purchasing and trading in and not so much like RMC and the construction material that we'll have as salvagers. As salvagers, you have your, with the Vulture, you're limited to one of C boxes. You're not going to be able to print. I mean, it'll be great if they can make it so you can print size 2 boxes, but anyways, you're limited already by what the depot can print out. So that the size piece here is not as big a deal. Now, if you wanted trading in your Vulture, which you could print out different size containers. Also, potentially now, I mean, it used to be you were kind of limited with your purchasing of containers. Technically, you should be able to purchase, 23, 24 boxes or more. Actually, you could put more in the Vulture. It would be easier to unload or load up from the back. So, as far as the Vulture is concerned, you can actually probably do more trading with it than you have been previously because you can just purchase these boxes. They should show up on the freight elevator. So, you should be able to reasonably do some trading in the Vulture at this point. And again, you're not limited to previously, you can only purchase boxes that would fit in the 12 SCU container area, but that shouldn't be the case anymore because again, you should load it up yourself, and so you should be able to purchase, size 8 boxes if you wanted to. A couple of those should fit. Actually, I shouldn't say a couple. I don't think a 16 fits in a Vulture. Sorry, but anyways, you should be able to purchase a couple size 4, size 2. Sorry, I think it's 1, 2, and 8. I don't think there's a size 4 container. But anyways, and then maybe make some of those changes. But yeah, long story short, this should give more flexibility. I'm looking forward to these changes. And then the next part of the video here, I'm going to cover each of the planets, starting from the inside, working my way out. And then I'll kind of give final thoughts. So if you want to skip around, you can take a look at I'm going to put some bookmarks in so you can take a look at the different chapters on, hey, this is this particular planet. So we'll start with Lorville, make our way to Orison, and then we'll go to Area 18, and then we'll finally it out in New Babbage. I'll talk about some of the pros and cons with each one. And at the very end, I'll kind of summarize what I think about them. But again, the last part's going to be mostly opinion on my part. Again, feel free to take a look at these patch notes. I pretty much covered what I mostly want to cover, which is I think it's going to be more meaningful this go around with what place we choose as our home, because that'll be our home station. And I feel like that'll probably be the best hangar to work out of, but I could be wrong here. But until we get a chance to test it out, it's possible that it might not be that meaningful, but I feel like it'll be more meaningful than it has been previously, which I think is a good thing. I found this Cornerstone Planetary Survey on the it's survey.cstone.space/system Stanton. There's a Pyro actually on there too, which is interesting. But this is a part of a knowledge base and an item finder that you can find online. I went ahead and moved on from the item finder. We're going to take a look at the planets. So starting from Stanton, obviously our only current solar system. We're going to start from Hurston and work our way out, Crusader, ArcCorp, and then Microtech, but we'll work on each of these different tabs here. So going to dive into Hurston. There's 4 planets here, or 4 moons, sorry, that can be kind of utilized and played with. So when I look at locations, we actually have quite a bit of content here due to the fact that there's 4 moons. And this is one of the I think this is actually the oldest system available. So again, quite a bit of content here. So if that's something that's alluring to you, then that's good. That should help too with what I consider kind of the gameplay piece around exploration. So if you like to go around and look for the red boxes, we can cover that too a little bit. The Odyssey app. allows you to take a look at potential areas where I like to call the exploration. So if you guys want a video on this, let me know. Others have already kind of covered it, but there's a number of different locations you can go and kind of find red box and basically subscriber type of gear or other kind of gear that's been sold in the game. Sold out of the game in the store, RSI store, but isn't sold to at kiosks and stuff like that. So, anyways, that's what I expect. I kind of consider to be exploration on the current gameplay loops. So, as a current gameplay loop, I should say. So, Hurston, it's been around since 317. This is Lorville, the main capital here. I actually again, I would like to have covered the gameplay footage here for each one of these, but I think it's going to add too much time to the video. So luckily there's a lot of pictures in here, so I'll be able to kind of indicate. But I like the whole like, hey, this is the spaceport. So as far as finding the spaceport, as long as you can find this building, and there's a bunch of these billboards around, I think Lorville is a fairly easy to find spaceport. However, that's where most of the pros kind of end. Also, I want to note that you currently can spawn ships and vehicles there, but again, I noted that previously you should be able to spawn your vehicles now in your personalized hangar, so that shouldn't be a deciding factor as far as I can tell. We'll be able to do that in testing to verify this, but as far as this, hey, you can only spawn vehicles at certain planets, that shouldn't be a deciding factor anymore, as you should be able to spawn a vehicle now in your instance hangar, so that shouldn't be as much of a problem. There's details on lore and whatnot, but again, that's not as super relevant. Now, I do want to note the stores. So there is ability to purchase some mining equipment as well as armor. So there's a Tammy's and Sons. That's their kind of like work. So like the yellow suit, the industrial type of place. There's New Deal, which is the spaceport. So you can actually purchase quite a few ships here. I think it's the biggest ship seller, to be honest. I'd have to look at my spreadsheet again, but I'm pretty sure that the New Deal is the biggest seller of ships that you have. But you can always visit here, so I don't think that's a super relevant thing, but it's just interesting to note. Vintage rentals, another thing. I think all of them have a rental piece, a kiosk. There's different things you can rent here. Not a big, I think, a deciding factor here either. Although, yeah, because the rental you can always have that spawn somewhere else, so not a big deal. And then there's there's a showcase. So there's you can see ship weapons here. So when you're near the TDD, there is an ability to see the different ship weapons and stuff that are out. It looks nice, but that kind of highlights the shops and stores that will be available to you. There's also food and drinks here. Tammy and Sons, I think you can get the cruise, the green cruise or whatever, but the cruise is the best thing to buy because it allows you to both get hydration as well as the food satiety, I think is the word term. Get your food and nutrition and water and both those nutrients covered. Sorry, a tongue twister there. Yeah, that's pretty much it there. So I do want to note there is an admin office, and there is the central trade district, but they're not located together. So that's the first thing I wanted to kind of note. That being so, like if you go to sell your stuff, if you got RMC, you're going to have to go to the trade district, and that's where the guns and things are. So you have to go to that central trade district in order to sell your RMC. You can see it here. However, if you're wanting to do construction material, I'm not seeing it listed here. I thought it was alphabetical. Okay, I don't see it listed on here, but I know construction material is not, and it's one of those things where like I'm probably reading it and where I've read over it probably 100 times. Scrap, waste. Anyways, am I going crazy? Is it not here? I don't think it's here. Okay, yeah, it's not listed here, but construction material is also sold at the admin office. So obviously that's where you would have to go. So you'd have to go to one of these two separate places, and they are located apart. And I personally find I'm pretty good usually with maps and like relative spatial like understanding where to go places, but I get straight up lost in Lorville. I don't know what it is, but it's partially because I don't go there very often. When I go to buy ships there, you just go buy them at the port there. You don't have to really go to go too deep into Lorville. I've gotten better about it now, but for me personally, my personal opinion is I get kind of lost in Lorville. So if you think Lorville is going to be the spot you want to go to, I would highly recommend you go there and kind of get used to that particular area. Once you go and use, I think anything in Star Citizen, as if you use it enough, you'll get used to it. Yeah, and this kind of goes into it too, right? So there's a worker district, which I think is super irrelevant. There's L19, like L19 residents, and all of this stuff is super unneeded. And so this whole area just kind of gets in the way. This is where I kind of get lost because you're trying to go like from the trade district. Actually, I think the worker district has the admin office. Anyways, I getting to the spaceport's not too bad. Getting to the central district's not bad, but the whole workers district is where I usually get a bit lost. There's city gates in here, so there's a bunch of anyways, so I think this whole area could be redone or needs to be fleshed out a bit better. That's pretty much it. There's a train, so all these different stations are going to have a different way to get around, and that's going to be the train system for Lorville. So let's move on to the next one. All right, next up we have Crusader, which has 3 moons on it. This one's my personal favorite because I've kind of stuck on using it, but it's because of the salvage missions driving that particular decision, which I think is no longer the case. Right? There's still salvage missions that drive that kind of decision making, but I don't think we're stuck to Orison anymore. Um, at least as a salvager, that's why I usually used it. Now this is maybe the second oldest planet. Looking at the 318, this I suspected that A18, Area 18, might be a bit older. So we'll take a look at that. But anyways, an older planet, not the newest. We'll look at the newest one there. So again, vehicles aren't listed here, and you can't get vehicles currently at Orison. But again, I think that will be not a deciding factor, as vehicles should be able to be spawned in your personal hangar at this point. Um, some risks of falling off. I didn't actually see any risks for Lorville, so that is the thing. I mean, you can fall off. I have done that before. I usually Alt F4 before my character can fall too far. Um, yeah, it's fine. I like Orison a fair amount, but his gravity is pretty extreme, given the gas giant that it is. So as far as reclaimers are concerned, it is a little challenging to kind of lift off there and kind of get used to taking off. It seems to take longer. It used to be really bad, I guess, but they fixed that a bit. Anyways, as far as the kiosks and stuff, pretty good. So obviously travel rentals, again, that's going to be, I think, at all spaceports. The little quickie mart, that might not be the PC term or technical term, but they have some armor and personal weapons there. Not a whole lot, but at least that's some. That's not really industrial. That's more like FPS type of gear. This is located in the main area. It's right next to the TDD. So if you're not sure where that's at, there's actually a little, like I said, quickie mart in the looks like a mall area. Clothing's also sold here. That's in the Stratus. That's in the same kind of mall area. Both of these places are next to Stratus, which is right next to the TDD. The pharmacy, all of them are going to have a pharmacy because all of them are going to have a hospital. Shipping, I don't use shipping. I don't think anyone does. It looks like cargo clothes are. Oh, okay, so this is actually the industrial play type of place, and so is this one as well. Both of these places. So they do have, when you're on the Providence platform, which is where the admin office is at, you can purchase things that are ship components. That's one. The crow's nest is down below, but up above is the ability to purchase the yellow armor pieces and the industrial pieces. So yeah, tons of food vendors here. Again, the Quickie Mart has the cruise if you want to purchase that, because again, that's going to be the meta drink or whatever. It's going to be the most important drink for you to take. But even in the spaceport and stuff like that, if you forget, there's a little hamburger place there. You could buy some drinks and food there if you need it. Healthcare services, same thing here. So it has healthcare services. That's pretty much it. I do want to note the trading district, again, unfortunately, is separated. So if you want to go to the TDD, that is where your main, only going to sell the RMC. That's going to be where the main place is. So where your hotel is going to be, or where you spawn in at, is across the way is the TDD. It's kind of triangular between the health office. Let's see if there's another picture. I could have swore this had a better picture. Now I'm messing it up. Yeah, it's the Skyway. Yeah, so across from where you spawn in at, the circle green, is going to be the TDD, and then it's kind of a 4 spot where there'll be, the TDD, there'll be the hospital, and then across the way will be where they sell actually the Crusader ships, and then there'll be the hotel. I'm trying to envision that for y'all, but anyways, now unfortunately the admin center is where they sell construction material, where you sell your construction material at. It is unfortunately located away from the other the TDD. So you're gonna have to ride the train around a couple ways. So that is kind of the reason why I probably won't choose Orison this go around. Double check these pictures and see if no, I don't see it here. Okay. So, anyways, I don't have a better way to describe this location. This, if I were to grade them so far, for me, Orison's Lorville is C tier. This is probably B tier, but I kind of like Orison just because I use a lot. I would probably rate it the same as Lorville if I actually, put my thinking cap on and and was being a little unbiased about it. But for me, a bit of a bias, or maybe I put this as B tier, right? So I probably have a C, B, A, and S tier. So this is probably a B tier for me. This is probably third place, whereas we'll cover the other two, which are going to be higher up, and we'll talk about why that is for this go around. But for me, Lorville is like a absolutely. I'm not going to choose that one. At least this go around. Maybe in the future I'll choose it. The other thing you'll want to think about is missions, and I don't think there's any. Again, Orison used to be the case where there are certain missions that you would want to take part here. If you're into bounty hunting, you may also want to pick your home planet to be where you like to do bounty hunting at, and that's where I like to do Orison. So I'll have to think about that a bit more. I mean, I may still choose Orison, but I'm leaning against it because I'm going to have to spend so much time unloading and loading. I really want the TDD and the admin center to be in the same spot. So let's get into the next two options here. Now we're making our way to the outer ring here. We got the third from the outermost planet here. And so ArcCorp has just 2 moons on it. Um, yeah, so let's take a look at the locations. I like ArcCorp actually quite a bit. If I am not going somewhere with Orison, I'm probably going out to ArcCorp. Again, I like it over Hurston. So for me, this is kind of like the A tier probably. Like if I had to choose a planet that I like the most besides Orison, again, just based off of the fact I've been to Orison so much, I do like to go to Area 18 quite a bit more. Sometimes I make way out to Microtech, but we'll cover that as well. A couple areas here, but again, this is a smaller planet, and there's less moons and stuff here. So, anyways, let's take a look at Area 18, 317. I think the other one said 318, so I think this might be the second oldest, which is interesting because like I said, I do like this one kind of a fair amount. So no vehicles can be spawned here, but again, I find that to be probably irrelevant because we should be able to spawn things now in our personal hangars. And down here, a number of lore. So food and drink, there's a number of places to purchase things on the way in and the way out. I know that there's like a little hot dog cart there in the plaza. Or maybe it's the coffee to go that I'm referring to on the spaceport there. So a pretty nice little spot to go to. Area 18 is the one that I think they had the most recent Fleet Week at. So you might still see some of the Fleet Week stuff. I was kind of odd when I logged in the game. I was like, wait, what? The Fleet Week stuff's still here? That's kind of odd to me. Anyways, shops and stores. So there is clothing. You can go buy clothing at the main area. It's called Zone 1 here, but I just call it like the main area because it mentions Zone 2, but these zones are all in the same area here. Anyways, all of this is on the same platform, which is the first big win, except for the spaceport here. So the spaceport has where to purchase coffee, and you can purchase rentals. The rental part is on the way when you're heading to the trams. So not trams, they're like floating trolleys. I don't know best describe them, but they're like floating uh, system because I guess it's high up in the air here. So, anyways, each of the different stations have their kind of tram system, their trolley system or whatever, and this one is no different. It has its way of getting back and forth. However, we'll note some of the changes here, and so there's going to be center mass, which you can purchase ship weapons and personal weapons here, which is great. It has armor and personnel weapons, which is also great, and food and beverages. I think this Cubby Blast, I think you can purchase crews here as well, which is great. Dumper Depot, which has a decent amount of ship components to it, if I recall correctly. I think I've had to come here and purchase a couple ship components. So that's a first good win here, and it's a really big win on Microtech, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to take a look at that too, or we'll look at that a bit. Astro Armada, this is the ship dealership. So right behind Lorville is going to be Area 18 on ships that you can purchase because they're the only two places at least I know of that you can actually buy ships at. Again, I don't find that to be super relevant. You can always visit the place and buy the ship there. So that's not a super big win, I think, either way. But yeah, I definitely want to note that you can get clothes here, which is fine. That's not super relevant to the game. I mean, if you want to wear clothes, that's fine. You can go purchase that. But as far as like buying your personal weapons and buying your armor gear and everything like that, that's all available here at ArcCorp's Area 18. So a very big win here. Yeah, it has the medical services. Trade district. Now, the trade services are actually all located in the same area. So there is a north tower that has an admin office, administrator front desk. So the trade district and the admin office are like footsteps away. Like you can see the two buildings from one door to the other. So this is a super great option for salvagers that have to go both sell their RMC at the trade district and then make their way over to the admin office, again located in the same particular area. So you'll have to take one tram over there, and you can take one tram back to the spaceport. I think that's about it. This shows a bit of the map here. Again, the plaza. So this is the main area that you're going to go to. Once you get there, there's a retail plaza. You can see the admin office and the TDD are just super close to each other. I don't really, they don't stand out. So this is the admin office and this is the TDD. So literally right across from each other. So when you get to the main, so there's this big ball spear here, sphere. You can walk right from the TDD across the way diagonally. You'll be at the admin office. So a really good layout here. So this is a close runner up. I haven't decided yet between Area 18 and the next one, Microtech, but we'll get ready to get over to Microtech here in a second. These different zones, there's the components. Once you go through here, there's a little eatery. I think it's like a hot dog stand or something like that. But you can get down here and you can purchase your ship components and you can purchase ships themselves. Yeah, the medical center is here in the main area, and then there's the when you get off here, you actually spawn in this bed area here. So if you were to come into here, you would spawn here. You can come downstairs. You can purchase your armor. Again, you have access to all these things, and you can make your way back to the spaceport or the convention center. The convention center is currently where the Fleet Week stuff is still located at. I think I covered everything there. Sorry, I keep clicking with my mouth. I'm not meaning to. It's just something that I kind of smack my lips. My bad. It's just coming through the mic. I'm sure of it. All right, let's head on to the next one. Last but certainly not least, Microtech. And this one is going to be a close second for me. Or it might be the one I pick. I haven't quite decided yet, but I'm going to use all this information to try to make that decision because I think it's a meaningful choice. Location wise, so this is the outermost ring. The part of the reason I don't like Microtech is it's so far away from everything else. It just is, right? Like, it's just far away. And I don't think the big pro here, which I'll show in a minute, is going to be as relevant as go around unless you're choosing to auto. I don't know if we'll be able to do this anymore. So we'll take a look here at the pros and cons that are currently available. And I'll have to test this in the game once this kind of gets out of Ilocati and goes into the testing servers. But yeah, I don't know if the Microtech Big Pro, which is being able to land next to the trading district, is a big pro anymore. So we've got 3 moons here, quite a few locations. These are all the locations within Microtech. It is the newest planet, so it looks like they loaded it up with a lot of cool stuff, which is good. New Babbage. You can do most things here, to be honest. Active defense is interesting that some of that stuff is off, but yeah, as far as like everything's concerned, it has pretty much everything, and it's the newest planet, not newest planet, but newest location you can have. So a big win there. It's the most up to date as far as all that's concerned. Yeah, so we start to see here. I didn't talk about this on the last 2 very much. I don't want to go back and record those, but as far as finding the spaceport, I think this is probably the first best, second best. The first best here because when you want to find the spaceport, it's just the one building that's across the road that's farthest away from everything else. That's really going to be where the spaceport goes. So I think the Orison, once you get used to the spider thing, that's one thing. It's not a big deal. And then as far as Area 18, I think Area 18 is actually probably the worst, but it's something I'd probably get used to. But it's something I'd have to dock Area 18 on. So the spaceport for New Babbage is pretty easy to find. Again, it's the biggest building you can find. You'll probably find a bunch of markers there too. But you used to be able to, you could spawn at the common, not spawn at the commons. You can fly down to the commons. There's another picture of it down here, right down here. So there's a commons down here where you can purchase and have the TDD. So a lot of people park on this ice right here. I don't know if that's going to be real. I don't know if you'll be able to do that this go around instead of having to go straight into the spaceport. If you do this, if they allow it, you'll have to pay to auto unload your stuff. But I imagine you have to still go to your hangar or something. Like I don't know if you're going to be able to come land here anymore and do selling of your RMC and construction material. I think that might become something I think of the past. So this used to be the biggest pro for Microtech, and I don't think it's going to be relevant this go around. All right, so let's take a look at the services offered here. So it has, again, as I mentioned before, it has pretty much everything. There's some lore here and whatnot, but there's a number of food vendors. I like to use the smoothie vendor sometimes too. In the commons area, there's a little smoothie and fruit vendor. I don't know, it's just something different. I like to go to there sometimes. Microtech, so there's the factory line. This is the flagship store. Interesting. This is the one I think. Oh, is this not the one with the little penguins and stuff? Yeah, I feel like this is, it says in the plaza, but I feel like, no, it must not be. Okay, so flagship store. I'd have to go look at these products. I'm actually not quite sure what it's referring to there. Ship weapons and personal weapons are located in center mass. It doesn't have armor there, which is, I think, a pretty big ding. Ship components at the Omega store. Actually, I think the ship components is pretty good at New Babbage, and if it's not New Babbage, I'm thinking of, I know Bajini Point, which I think is the space center above it. I think has quite a few of those like A tier one, not size, but the first tier of good components. So usually when I recall seeing New Babbage quite a bit and Bajini Point. That are pretty good places to purchase components, which I think is going to be pretty meaningful this going around because you don't have to um, transfer those ship components around. You'll have to load them, I think. And I think the change is already implemented, unfortunately, but they don't give us boxes big enough to actually ship our components. Because currently you used to, or previously, you used to be able to just put the components, ship components on your ship and fly them away. Well, you can't do that right now. It doesn't let you do it because I think it's meant to go in the boxes, but yet they didn't give us boxes big enough to actually hold the components either, or at least they didn't fully implement it. One of the two. At any rate, you can't actually move the components around. It's kind of frustrating. So then we have an interstellar plaza. So there's some minor heads, mining armor. So again, this is kind of the industrial gameplay type of place in the plaza there. Um, Exclusive clothing, but this is just kind of clothing piece here. There's a quickie mart. This is in the area right behind near the sleeping quarters. So once you kind of wake up, there is some weapons and clothing in there. But again, I don't think like it has utilities because it's got like I think it's got the tractor beams and stuff like that and the pyro tool, multi tool. But I don't think there's any armor. So like throughout this whole thing, I don't think there's any armor. I don't think they sell any armor there, unfortunately. There's a pharmacy because there's medical stuff, which is good, and then there's rentals that are located along with the in the spaceport area. So this one, as far as like these components are concerned, is a bit of a ding against it because it has quite a bit of stuff, but it doesn't quite have armor and stuff. So I'm not sure what's going on with that. However, since everything will persist, you'll probably get to keep all your armor right now, so it's probably not that big a deal for most people. Healthcare services, obviously, it has that. Now, the next big win here is the trade district and the admin office are both in the same plaza in the commons. So this is why people land in the commons area because when you get to and you ride the train over to the commons area, um, the commons garage is here. You can get a vehicle out and you can again ride it out to wherever your ship's landed. But this promenade, all of this commons area here has the TDD and the admin office, so it just makes it really easy to sell at those particular areas. So when you get to the spaceport, you'll need to go to the spaceport itself, which is fine, and then you'll need to make your way to the commons. Those will probably be the most two important places you go to. There's also going to be in November. There will be the November like big Star Citizen Expo thing going on. So the expo will probably take place. At least last year it took place here, so I imagine it would take place here again. So that could be another pro if you're interested in that. All in all, again, I think the ship components you could purchase here is a win. So I think I'll go ahead and have some closing thoughts on all of them, but that's an overview of New Babbage, and then we'll take a look at the final closing thoughts. Closing thoughts. I'm going to kind of rank what I think with the planets, and it's up to you, obviously, to kind of choose which of these. I would say now go into the game, play around with these different planets, and try to determine which one you're going to like the best. For me personally, this is my little tier list that I got going on, my ranking, and I'll give you the pros and cons that I see with each of the different planets. I'm working kind of with half intel kind of information here. I haven't been playing game long enough to give this true perspective, so do take this with a grain of salt. But this is my perspective going into it. So even if you've skipped over this, that's fine too. But anyways, my perspective, Lorville. I'm not a big fan. I get lost in Lorville, so for me personally, I don't foresee myself picking this one. I love the spaceport. I think it's easy to find, and so it's easy from that perspective. So landing there, getting there is easy and fine, and it's very centralized, right? So it's in the center of the solar system. So getting to Orison, getting to the Crusader system, getting to the ArcCorp system, getting to the different system is really easy because it's so centralized and it's in the inner ring. But as far as location wise, it's pretty good. But as far as once you get into the spaceport and making your way around the different areas, I personally don't like it. So that's where I ding this, and I'm not going to choose it as my home location just strictly off of that. At least my plans are, unless I'm going to go ahead and spend the time getting used to all these different planets. But for whatever reason, I just can't quite make this my home. At least that's my current thought process. Orison, I like this one. I've been using it as my home for so long that I probably need to try something else. I like this one. It's the second most inner, but it is kind of out by itself. I see this one as being um, it's on the other side of the sun compared to Area 18 and Lorville. So from that perspective, it's kind of out of its way because of that. But it's got a lot of good mission spots, and I like the bounty hunting there. But again, I think I just got a personal bias of using it as my home planet for the last couple patches, and that's really my bias kind of showing through. But yeah, otherwise the negatives on it, like the last line, actually, Lorville is another negative, is that the TDD and the admin center are not together, and so it's just going to add extra time. And I think with when just dealing with the unloading and loading of cargo, not having the trade districts and the admin center together is probably gonna be a little more like meaningful. It's gonna feel probably worse. Be like, oh, I've loaded all that cargo, which again I think I'm looking forward to, but probably after the 100th time you probably do that, you're not as looking forward to that, and you probably don't have to like, oh, I have to wait and I go to the admin center, and I have to wait and get on this tram and go to the next play, So you don't want to have to do all that over and over again. So for me, I'm going to probably put Orison out again because I've used it so much, but that's my own personal thing. If you haven't used Orison, I don't mind it. It's something to kind of get used to. But this go around, it's probably worth skipping and looking at the next two. So Area 18 is the first of the next two. It does have ship components. You can purchase ships here, which again, I don't think either one of those two. The ship component pieces, I think, is kind of important actually. Being able to buy the ship components at the location and then have them already there, I think, is a pretty big win this go around because you don't have to worry about putting those components in a box and shipping them around. But flying around is not, that shouldn't be the deciding factor for yourself. And I think the ship components actually might be a bit better. You'll want to go to ArcCorp and put your ship in and take a look at the different components, and it'll tell you which stations has those components. So just be mindful of that. So the Area 18 might not be the right choice for you. But at least the TDD and the admin office are together. Obviously, you can't spawn vehicles here currently, but the way that the hangar should work, just pay attention to that. But you should be able to spawn vehicles here. So if they, for some reason, they leave that part out, then that makes New Babbage probably the better choice because at least you do have the option to spawn vehicles there. But as far as I'm concerned, as far as the patch notes are concerned, it indicates that you can spawn vehicles and ships in your hangars. So it should be a non-issue as far as the whole not being able to spawn vehicles here. So you should be good to go there. Again, has most of the shops. You've got armor and personal weapons you can do there. Same thing with ships. Well, it says personal and ship weapons, but it also has armor and personal weapons as well. So I think a big win there. I like the location setup for this one. If you look at this map here, everything's located here in this this plaza section. So once you get to the plaza, it has pretty much everything you need. This is going to be a top contender for me, and I'll have to look at Microtech, and I'll be looking. You can come to this website and you can take a look at the links for these stores, and I'll tell you you can see products that are being sold here. So it'll be on you if you want to take a look at those and see what options are there. But I think this will be a pretty big win as far as Area 18. I might choose this one over New Babbage, but I'll have to really choose between Area 18 and New Babbage because I think New Babbage is a good runner-up. But and it does have, so if they do leave the vehicle part out, at least you can spawn vehicles here as well. But again, the inability to probably go to the commons and just sell there anymore, because again, a lot of people will just land right here. I don't think we'll be able to do that this go around. And if we can't, then it really puts New Babbage kind of out for me at least. But I like New Babbage. I used it originally. I'm not in love with it like most people are. I do like Area 18 quite a bit. I don't know. I think it's still a close runner up between those two. So ultimately, again, I'm not going to choose Lorville. I'm not going to choose Orison. I'm kind of down to Area 18 and New Babbage at this point. So, or Area 18 and New Babbage. It's going to be choosing one of those two. Both are pretty similar with the New Babbage side. I think the downside here, I think it has better components between it and its satellite station above it, but it doesn't have as good of the personal items. Now, the personal items are available. It does actually have pretty good stuff, I think, at Bikini Point, the one above it. So the space station above it does kind of make up for the shortfall of having it has ship and personal weapons, but it doesn't, I think, have a lot of armor. But that satellite station above it kind of makes up for that. So you just have to transfer that back down to the planet if that's how you want to go about it. Otherwise, you just put armor on when you go up to the space station there. Anyways, yeah, that pretty much closes up the thoughts. This ran quite a long time, longer than I wanted it to. But again, I think this is going to be a pretty meaningful choice for people to make. So at this point, it's checking out these different planets, getting familiar with each one of them, and then figuring out which one you want to pick as a primary location, because I think it'll be more relevant this next go around. Anyways, thank you all for taking the time to watch the video. Appreciate those that are taking time to like and subscribe, and I'll catch y'all next time.